Let's see. And there we are, live on YouTube. Good morning, everybody. Here for Thankful Thursday. Lorri, Dove, Sharon, whomever else. Good to see you all. And the mic is all yours.
Thank you, Lynn, and thanks for all that work on
There we are.
downloading a whole new computer thing. Computer stuff is actually what made me stop doing anything with my book and teaching a long time ago, 10 years ago, because I couldn't stand it. It was just like, ah, you know, and also like if I'm with on the computer a couple hours with a client and then a couple hours with another client, I'm just fried. So people who can do computer stuff have my admiration. So thank you so much. Um, we are on lesson 163. There is no death. The Son of God is free. And good morning to you, Dove, and to you, Lynn, and Karen's in the room, and Sharon is here. And yes, Dove wrote, "Thank God it's Thankful Thursday." I love Thankful Thursday. Okay, this lesson, I remember memorial service for one of my Course in Miracles group members. And in I spoke at the memorial service, as did a couple of our other group members. And it was very interesting because talk about the split mind. It was like half the room was his family, which were Christians, and the minister of that family spoke too and was talking all about death and Jesus sacrificing himself for our sins and all that. But he spoke after the three of us who were in the course group spoke. And you could see he was an intelligent man because you could see that he would stop and go, "Oh boy, what I just said was totally contradictory to what they said." And basically, I talked about this lesson in lesson 167 in the manual number 27 because this guy, Bob, he said, "You shouldn't be crying at funerals. You should be celebrating. They're free. There is no body. There is no death." And we used to say to him, "Well, Bob, but you gotta, you can't come right out and say that to certain people because they're grieving and stuff." And we would kind of argue about it. So we brought up in the memorial service how Bob would have said, these are Bob's words, that stop it, stop crying. You should be celebrating. I am free. I am happy, And of course, Christian services say the same thing, but we all still cry. So hi, Sharon. See you there on your porch, your nice porch. So, okay. Ken Wapnick's journey through the workbook starts out with his commentary. This lesson parallels the section near the end of the manual, What is Death? Well, yeah, I just mentioned that, number 27, which teaches, as does lesson 167, and I mentioned that one too, that death symbolizes the totality of the ego thought system. Death is the central dream from which all illusions stem, which is a quote from the very first line of the manual number 27. From the ego's point of view, death provides the certain proof it is right. It says, "I have separated from God, which makes me a sinner. Overwhelmed by guilt for destroying heaven, I believe God is justified in punishing me for my sin, rising from his grave to exact his vengeance. Thus, the body's death is the ego's most powerful witness of all. I told you I was right and the Holy Spirit wrong because I, the ego, have power over life. God created life but cannot destroy it. Yet I, the ego, can make life and also end it." That's interesting. That I, the ego, can make life and also end it. When my parents were going through a divorce, it was just horrible and terrible. And my mom went bat poop crazy. She lost it. And she actually engaged me in a physical fight. We had never had a physical fight before. And she was pinning me down. She was strong. And she grabbed my hair and she was like going to yank my neck. And I thought she was going to kill me. And she was holding my throat and everything too. And at at a different point. But anyway, she said to me, she goes, "Well, I brought you into this life and I can take you out." So talk about, and good morning, Deb. Talk about the ego. Um, and so she just totally got into the murderous stuff, and of course I was part of that too. I'm not a victim, and so interesting what the ego thinks. It's powerful. It can cause death. We think we can commit suicide, right? We don't die. We can't. And in lesson 167, it says, death is but an idea, irrelevant to what is seen as physical. So it's really important to notice that death is an idea. And we say there is no death, and yet we still feel it, we still believe it. But to get to the point where it's like, if I did not believe in the idea of death and its many, many forms, what would my life be like? It would be a lot better. So Ken continues, death then becomes the most convincing argument in the ego's arsenal, certainly within the world of specifics, that the ego's thought system of separation is true and the Holy Spirit's thought system of atonement is a lie. And in paragraph 1, the workbook says, death is a thought that takes on many forms, often unrecognized. It may appear as sadness, fear, anxiety, or doubt, as anger, faithlessness, and lack of trust, concern for bodies, envy, and all forms in which the wish to be as you are not may come to tempt you. All such thoughts are but reflections of the worshiping of death as Savior and as giver of release. So that rest in peace, and the Course says rest in peace is a benediction for the living, not for the dead. But yeah, how often do we say that? Well, he's okay now. He's out of his suffering now, or she's out of her suffering, and we do feel that, and I feel it. Oh, and look at Sharon's beautiful view. Yeah, Sharon has one of the prettiest porches and prettiest views. Um, but yeah, I always felt that way too. Like I just can't wait till I get out of this body. I still fall into it. I had a really 3 days this week of really bad stuff where I went back to my old, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to live. I was just like enraged and it was horrible. And I couldn't stand it. And I just prayed. Finally, I prayed. I said, I need some help. I need some help. And I got the help. I got the help, and it was about eliminating something in my life that was not very good for me. And it was like, oh, thank you, gosh. And then immediately I started feeling like I was better again. And it was just, it was like, thank you, God. But up to that point, I had not asked for help. And how often do we do that? And I would say things like, oh, okay, this is never going away. It's back. I don't know what I'm going to do. But, and I would maybe even say some course lines like, wait a minute, this isn't true. This is ego. And I know this, blah, 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 but it feels so strong. I can't get out of it, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, when I just said, help, help, God, I really need help. I am not doing well here. And that's when it came. And it always does. It always does. And I didn't take it back. So I didn't go backwards after that. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Because I thought, oh man, I don't know. I can't I cannot live like this. I cannot live like this. But I also felt like I couldn't muscle through it this time. Like a lot of times I'll muscle through something and it's like there's no muscling through this. So Ken says, whenever you are anxious or sad, concerned with specialness of any kind, and see yourself as a body, you make death real. Any of these specific forms reflects your belief that the thought system of sin, guilt, and fear is real, with death its ultimate and inevitable effect. The same thought is found in the picture of crucifixion, where Jesus says sickness is but a little death, quote unquote, little, a form of vengeance not yet total. Here, that thought is extended by including anxiety, fear, and envy as little forms of death. all express the underlying thought of separation, which is death. So when we start looking at all the different ways that we feel death and experience death and believe in death, it can feel overwhelming. Like when we start on the spiritual path and we're told that our thoughts are judgmental, and it's just overwhelming with, oh yeah, just about every single thought is judgmental. And it's the same thing with the thought of death. Almost every single thought is one of death if we go deep enough. Death, separation, same thing. So I'm just so grateful though that the remedy is right here, right now, where we can choose again, and we can choose truth, we can choose love, we can choose God over the ego, truth over illusion, love over fear, and just breathe in every single breath. And that's something that I had always heard, that it's as close as your breath. And I never really got that until just recently, after all these years. So just now I can go to the breath and just go, here it is right here. Here it is right here. And because I was always in my head, and now I'm more in my heart. And that's thanks to the Joe Dispenza stuff, where he focuses, get in your heart, get in your heart, get in your heart. Well, I didn't know how. I did not know how. I was just always in my head. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Sharon.
Good morning. Good morning, Lorri and Karen and Deb and Dove and Lynn. And yeah. So where am I? You know, when Lorri was talking about losing it a couple days, yesterday was a day for me, for some reason, and I have no idea, because I probably was putting my attention on the dream at the time. I got angry, very angry, because of LA, and I don't need to go into it, because that would be a story. But what happened was, the higher self, I wasn't asking for it. I didn't want it. I didn't care if it was real or not. I was just plain angry. And I took this into the day. It was like yesterday, my husband has, like, you know, you always marry one of your parents, right? So both my parents were just comical. But my mother was OCD clean, like to a point. Like, my siblings, all three of them, don't wear their shoes in the house. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm an artist. And my mother would always say, I don't know where I got her from. Because I'd come over our house with paint all over. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. But what I want to say is, my husband, Cliff, got me to go back in a memory and see if I'm not aware that the thinking mind totally isn't me. Because the mind's thinking on its own. And if I'm in my dream big time, I'm going to get set off. So I didn't center myself yesterday. If I meditate, I am okay, because that means that I've been in the place where we all are together, inwardly. And quite frankly, all spirituality is delicious. I mean, the mud is the ego, and I play in the mud whenever I get either lazy. I don't even like the word lazy. I get passionate about a cause. And the truth is, the only cause here is my mind, because there's no people. And I keep saying to the character, there's no people, so forgive it. And I forgave it. But actually, Lori's sharing about her situation has actually moved it further away. Because when we sometimes, like, I was going to just journal, because sometimes I'll just do things. And quite frankly, journaling is probably one of the best ways to get unhooked, right? Because it's all just a mind dump. Because the mind is the thing that's talking. The mind is the thing that's judging. And as long as we are in a body, and this is something I don't know, but I believe it, and maybe I don't even believe it, I don't know, but does the ego ever, like, completely dissolve? And I don't think so, because it has to move the body around, right? Because the heart and the head work together. And when Lorri was talking about being in the heart, you know, I listen to Joe. Some of the things that he teaches I don't understand, but I'm still eager to learn, because I do feel the authenticity with Joe Dispenza, but I also feel For me to be authentic is for me to come back to the truth, not for me to play this character. Just because there's a bully out there right now that's hurting people doesn't mean that I don't have a bully in me, because I would see no one and no judgment. You know, somebody had said something in one of my groups, like, oh, it was yesterday, I think, at Amy Tars's. I went to that afternoon and they were talking. And, this one fellow said, well, I don't think we ever stop judging. And honestly, or he said something like, he was talking about the ego. And I think that the judger probably, because what I've seen in me is it's dissolved quite a bit. But the thing that happened in LA brought back with tanks and all that garbage that's supposed to be coming on Saturday. It kind of made me like, who does he think he is? And, I have to fill in the blank with an F word. But who am I hurting? I'm hurting my mind. I am no longer in the soil, I'm in the dirt. The soil is delicious. The soil, when we feed our soil all the nutrients that we eat, again, I could go into that too, but I'm just saying, Mother Nature and Father Time are really here for us. And Father Time is just a story about time, because there really is no time. And Mother Nature is just a story because there really isn't nature. But Mother Nature, I think, is in charge of all of us, because we are a member of nature. We are all being lived by the divine will. And honestly, when I mess up, do you think that Jesus or divine will cares? No, who cares in me? Well, for one thing, it's only the ego that really cares. So the ego the ego gets in there and it really plays a lot. But, to come back and realize this world is a dream and I'm dreaming it. And I'm not real, and the people out there aren't real. Damn, does it feel real? Well, that's the whole point. It's the whole point. This is a one dreamer. It's not like Sharon, Sharon. It's the one dreamer that picked our dream, along with all of us, because we are the one dreamer, along with all of us. So that's where responsibility for sight comes. But the one mantra that will keep this mind completely still is, I do not know anything. I do not know what anything is for. I don't need to know anything anymore, because can I die? Well, how can you die when you've never been born? You've never been informed. The form is what's blinding me. Now, do I have an arrogant part of me in me? I'd have to if I see it out there. But that's the ego. Until the ego gets dissolved, which, by the way, I think judging does stop eventually. But allowing judging and welcoming it is how you get rid of it, right? So, opinions are like blank. Everybody has one. And with that, I'm turning this over to you, Doug Fishman. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was brilliant sharing. By the way, I never knew that Altoona was so incredibly beautiful out there, and it's in the middle of nature. My God, no wonder you talk a lot about nature. Congratulations on finding this beautiful spot on Earth. Really.
Well, that's my husband. I brought him in my dream. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to give Sharon a better dream.
Oh, well, you moved to Altoona a long time ago, I thought.
Yeah, I moved to Altoona when I was just 50, and I'm 70.
Yeah.
So I've been here 20 years, and I didn't know Cliff. I didn't meet my husband.
Yeah, okay. So you met Cliff, and he also lived in
He didn't have this house. No, he didn't have this house. I just left with no money, and then I had a stroke, and then they were advising me not to work because I was in pain 24/7. Now, what's weird is, and this was a miracle, in 21, I had a lot of falling away, and it had to be my thoughts, because really the body is the unconscious mind. So in any case, what I wanted to say is, because you see I have ADHD if I'm not really, if I'm not aware, because this is your time. But The thing about Altoona was that Cliff, I met him in a 12-step meeting. That's how I met him. Because I had this one thing. I will not date someone that doesn't put God first, because I was already a course student. And so here I am, and he's a work in progress like all of us. So, okay. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, that's great that you said, hey, listen, I'm a child of God and I deserve the best. That's great. I met Suzanne at a 4th of July barbecue in Woodmere, Long Island, or Woodbury, Long Island, I should say, Woodbury, Long Island. And it was just meant to be. I was playing a game of chess in an outdoor setting, and she came along and she actually said to the guy who brought her to the party, I'm going to marry that man. I mean, everything happens perfectly. Yeah. I mean, you got to accept things with smiles, laughter, and gratitude. That's a big word, gratitude. So I am going to be speaking this morning in Bogota, Colombia, on that topic called acceptance, which is, according to Ken Wapnick, acceptance is the most important word in A Course in Miracles. And I agree. As you all know, my favorite paragraph is, what can you not accept if you knew that everything that appears to happen in this world is planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good? What can you not accept? Yeah, so my topic this morning in Bogota, Colombia, I put it on the board. Acceptance starts with smiles and laughter and gratitude. The thing that makes it real for you is the gratitude. Anyone could talk about smiles and laughter, and if you know Ken, he says, Jesus doesn't like silly smiles. A silly smile is one where you get your lips pursed, and you do something with your with your mouth and with your cheeks. That's a silly smile. For those people, there was a few people from Gather who went to Amy Torres yesterday. I did. She was really wonderful. And as you know, Amy did a thing on John Monday last Sunday at Sunday with Monday, in which she talked about the inner smile. The inner smile is one that comes from within you. It has nothing to do with your lips, and you go in and find that place where this inner smile is always smiling. And as she did, she said, and you open up, and if I can do the same thing she did, as you open up, you actually form a smile. Figuratively, but it's coming from within you. So, today's lesson is there is no death, which is why we're all talking about, looking at it. And, as usual, I put Ken Wapnick's commentary on today's lesson up in the chat. If you came in late, I'll put it up here again. Okay, it goes like this. First, the lesson is there is no death. The Son of God is free. Really? What do you mean there is no death? I mean, all my friends are dying. Ken Wapnick says, remember, death is not an entity, but only a projected thought of the ego. And the ego is what made this world of form. Now you see it. Now you don't see it, Even oceans and lakes and volcanoes and the Rock of Gibraltar. Oh, they may be here for a while, but nothing lasts forever unless God created it. And God never created bodies. So, drop that thing where I'm a body. No, I'm not a body. Okay. So he says, remember, death is not an entity, but only a projected thought of the ego. Indeed, we could substitute the word ego for everything said here about death. So, and then he doubles down, because you can always count on it to guarantee our separated existence. So death is simply the belief, the lie that we separate ourselves. When Suzanne and I got married, our wedding vows included in big letters, which I have here on my bedroom wall, we are one. We are one is always true. We are one is always true. So when Suzanne left a little over 4 years ago, February 9th of 21, I went into grieving and grief. And then 3 days later, I happened to be walking past this thing I have on my bedroom wall. And I said, wait a minute. If we were one 40 years ago, we're still one now. I mean, only the belief embodies belief, the lie of I am a body, could say differently than that. Because in truth, we are one. We are one. And, what's important here is to recognize that we live in two different worlds. Oh, really? Yeah, one is real and one is not. I mean, lessons 128, 129, and 130 say the exact same thing. What's 128? There's nothing in this world I want. Huh? Really? That's right. There's nothing in this world of make-believe, of you or me, a world of separation, good and bad, right and wrong, do I want. It doesn't exist. Why would I want it? All right. Watch lesson 129. Okay, 129. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. Really? Beyond this world of make-believe, there is a world I want? What kind of a world could that possibly be? Well, maybe it's a world of oneness, and where there are no people walking about, and which people just means separation. Maybe it's a world where there is no death. Maybe there's a world where there's only light. You don't need electric lights to take away the dark night. Maybe there are no stores to shop in. You mean that kind of a thing? Yeah, I mean, Jesus talks about that in the Course of Miracles, but I mean, I didn't know that maybe that's the world I want. And then what's lesson 130? It's impossible to see both worlds. What is it that you really want? You really want this world of bodies where you can keep your individual personality, and your individual personality is simply an attack on the love of God, because the love of God doesn't see anything special. Oh, look at me, I'm so special. And I have a few people that I hold as very special, and there's a couple of people I hold as very unspecial. Yeah, maybe special is a love-hate relationship, a special love-hate relationship. Maybe this world is not what it's cracked up to be. Maybe you got to laugh, But now start with a smile, not just a silly smile. Jesus doesn't like silly smiles. If you're taking anything in this world seriously, you're out of your mind. I mean, it's nice to know that the world is insane, because if you start with the world is insane, at least maybe there's another place where I can become sane, because if I believe in insanity, guess what kind of an individual personality I am? Insane. I don't know how many of you remember Crazy Eddie back in the 70s. He had an electronics store. Well, maybe it's only in the New York area, but they used to say, Crazy Eddie, he's insane. He gives away things for nothing. You gotta laugh. You simply gotta laugh. And with that, I'll turn this mic back on over to you, Lorri, or anyone who wants to raise a hand and say something.
Thank you, Dove. Uh, the whole world's insane. I never heard of Crazy Eddie, so it must be a New York thing. But I appreciated what you guys both said, and Sharon, how you got angry at LA, and oh, there's Regis. Regis, hello. Hello, Regis. And Cher, too. I didn't say hi to you earlier because you came on after. So anyway, I agree, Sharon, with the LA stuff. I just haven't been watching it. It's just like, you know what? That's too violent. It's too awful. It's too horrible. You know, I just don't. I don't want to engage, and that's usually what I do with the news anyway. I just kind of headlines only. um, but going to lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for, and what Karen, you wrote in the chat. That's the only way we get peace, because otherwise we're forming a judgment. And unless we go, this is an insane dream, it is an insane dream. And we just keep remembering that don't underestimate the ego's insanity. It's just crazy. Because I found myself a couple weeks ago just going, what the hell? What the hell? How is all this happening? What the hell? And just going, wait a minute, you've been a course student for how many years? How can you even ask that question? How is this happening? Of course it's happening, because this is a world where we come to forget who we are, where we come to believe in death. In this lesson 163 tells us, no, there is no death, but it's where we come to point it out and say, yes, it is. So, and then, Dev, what you were saying about acceptance being the most important word, Ken said acceptance is the most important word in the whole thing. I always like to modify that to, you're accepting what appears to be, not what actually is, because what appears to be is not reality. And so that's the only way I can accept what I see with the body's eyes, because I could never accept it if it were real. I mean, there's just things that are just too horrific and too horrible that not only happen on the macro level, but happen in our personal lives all the time. And it's just like, these things are not okay. And so before the course, I used to just be mad at God all the time, and mad at life, and just say, this is just not okay. It's not, this is horrible. This is awful. Don't tell me that this is paradise. And so when the course said, you're right, it's not, and God did not do this to you, that's when I can accept it. That's when I can accept it and go to truth. And Dev, you also brought up lessons 128 to 130. I say lessons 128 and 129 all the time. This world holds nothing that I want. And every time I get caught up in wanting anything in the world, I end up back here, which is like, oops, you weren't satisfied by that either. And that's what happened last week when I got into the hellhole in my mind and in my being. It was like I had wanted something, it didn't work out, it didn't pan out, it didn't prove to be what I wanted it to be, and I went into hell. And it's like, of course, you will weep every time an idol falls. And so, fortunately, I do totally know beyond this world is a world that I want. And I used to feel like with the real world, it's like, I'll never get there. I'll never get there. And I can't get there while I'm in a body. I just can't. And now it's like, oh, yes, wait a minute. It's right here. It's right here with every breath. It's right here when you breathe and you look at all the trees, or you look at the beauty, or you look at someone that you love. It's right here. It's not, the wording is beyond this world. There is a world that I want. And yes, it's beyond the world when you set it aside and you know it's not real, but it's actually right here. The real world is right here. And I used to kind of not really feel like it was, but now I know it is. And it's funny because I was talking to one of my course friends and the other day, and I was saying, well, you know, it's so beautiful where I live, just like where Sharon lives and everything, the trees and the hills, and it's beautiful. I love Pennsylvania, and Karen, she lives in near Philly there, and it's just gorgeous. And where I live in northern Michigan, it's the same way. It's just really, really pretty. And Dove, too, where you live in upstate New York, man. So all these beautiful places in Regis and Linner and Colorado and Cher. I don't know how pretty where you are in Texas is. It might be beautiful, and I don't know where Deb lives, but oh, so are you showing us? I can't hear you because you're muted.
We're just stuck in a traffic jam and it's raining real bad here. So anyway, but it's beautiful. This morning, maybe not, but it's okay. I'm just praying for whoever's in this wreck. You know how you do that.
I want to wish Thomas a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a few days ago, but thank y'all. This is great. I love
Oh,
We
me
love
too, too. Yes.
Okay. We love
that's
y'all. I
neat.
didn't mean to disturb class.
No, I asked you what you were pointing out. That's good. And that you can even say it's beautiful, even like in the middle of that. See, because I couldn't the other day. I was stopped at a stoplight, one of the major intersections here, and I kept trying to breathe and feel the real world and just going, and there's just stores and traffic and ick and buildings and no trees. And I couldn't get into that good feeling. So Karen, you've got your hand up, so I'll turn this over to you.
Thanks, Lori. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Dove. Thanks, Sharon. So I was listening to what Lori, yeah, I think it was Lori, was talking about what this world seems to be and seems like. And I looked up the word seems. And Sharon, I think you need to mute, honey.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. The word seems is, let's see, 720 times. And the word illusions is 746 times. So they're like almost at a tie. And then the word appears is 248 times. So it's like illusion and seems there's so many, it's repeated so many times, I think, because we're being spoken to in a language that we can understand in this course, which is very gentle, very, very meet you where you are idea. And I love what everyone's sharing about death. And when Dove said, there's nothing in this world I want, you know, what came to me was that there's nothing in this world I want to be attached to. Because I can't say that there's nothing in this world I want if I'm being honest. There's nothing in this world I want to be attached to. And that way, I don't have to take it seriously. Like we're always talking about not taking it seriously, not holding on to it for dear life, because I've been there, done that. It only brings suffering. And I love that Dove shared acceptance is the most important word in the course, which is forgiveness. And what we're talking about here is death, and that death is an idea. And death, as Dove said, is the belief that we are separate. And I always get led to lesson 167. Lesson 163 and 167 are, as Ken would say, kissing cousins. He never said that about these two lessons, but he uses that terminology. So these two lessons are like kissing cousins. Lesson 167, there is one life, and that I share with God. And here he tells us that you think that death is of the body, yet it is but an idea, irrelevant to what is seen as physical. A thought is in the mind, it can then it can be then applied as mind directs it, but its origin is where it must be changed if change occurs. Ideas leave not their source. So we're always being reminded that it's always the mind, that the cause is in the mind. And when death does occur, the mind doesn't die. The mind is still the consciousness, from what I understand, from what the Course is teaching us from death, near-death experience that I hear about, that consciousness is always there. So if we're in a consciousness of fear, when we die, we will be in fear, until we change our mind. It's always changing our mind to see things differently, always and only. And then he says in lesson 167 that death is the thought that you are separate from your creator. It is the belief. Conditions change, emotions alternate because of causes you cannot control, you did not make, and you can never change. It is the fixed belief ideas can leave their source and take on qualities the source does not contain, becoming different from their own origin, apart from it in kind as well as difference, time, and form. So we're always reminded that death is a thought, like life is a thought, like everything is a thought. And it's remembering that we have a decision every moment. We can choose to see the Holy Spirit. We can choose to see, as Lorri was talking about, the real world is right here. For me, the real world is right here because the Holy Spirit is in my mind to show me the real world. The real world is in my mind when I choose that teacher. And the real world is in my mind when I listen to that teacher, when I listen and recognize that there's only love where I call for love. But when I see this world as a prison, I'm definitely not listening. I'm definitely not listening to the Holy Spirit. So I really love this because death, I also love this lesson in particular because in lesson 163, he reminds us that death it's a thought that takes on many forms. It's not just what we think of as an idea of the body dying. It appears as sadness, fear, anxiety, doubt, anger, faithlessness, and lack of trust, which is all comes to concerns for the body, envy, and all forms in which we wish to be as you are not. And that's the temptation of being a body. We wish that we were not. And it reminds me, the Course always just flows so beautifully with this for me because it goes right back to chapter 10, section 2, the decision to forget that all attack is self-attack. So when I'm believing in death, I am attacking the truth of who I am because I'm wishing to be something that I'm not. So we have these little deaths all the time, anytime we believe we're separate from God. And it's my classroom. So what I do is I notice it and then I ask to help me see this differently. So thanks.
That was great, Karen. Hey, Sharon, why don't you take your turn now?
That was great, Karen. That was great. I didn't tell the story about last week, but I'm going to tell it because Lynn asked me why didn't I say anything. And it was because my guidance was not to talk about it. But now that it's over, I was on the train and the train stopped suddenly. It just went really, and I'm walking to the bathroom. And I didn't have my pocketbook or anything. I just was walking and I fell completely backwards and hit my head. I was like, what? What happened? I didn't bend I went down like a little puppet, like a gummy. So immediately I got nauseous. Immediately I felt so sick and dizzy. But I wasn't allowing the mind at the time to tell me that I was really hurt. But then I got to a place where the wisdom in me said, well, why wouldn't you check it out? So I went to University of Pennsylvania, and they gave me CAT scan, blood, everything they had to do. But it took about 7 hours. And they sent me home with just this slight concussion. And I don't know what else it was, but my hearing was actually like it seemed like my hearing wasn't great. So why am I talking about this? Because we aren't this body, and we're not even the character, because that's a script. And it's already over. But when the body falls or the body breaks something, I'll be damned that I can't. I'll tell you how scared I was, because I thought at the point of my head that my kids are imaginative. They're like, you could have a brain bleed, Mom. You just don't know. And then I would wake up dead. And then if I told Ralph, he would say to me, can you die? Die now. And you can't die, right? But am I insane? Well, let me tell you, folks, I am more than insane when I'm in the ego, because I double dip. I think it has something for me sometimes. Here's when I go in there, that's a Pandora's box. It's just a Pandora's. And what is a Pandora's box? It's a box that contained all the world's evils. And what's all the world? Well, it's in me, because the world is me. You see, the truth of who I am is holding all of this and saying, what the F are you guys thinking? That you're really these people? Because you know what? That's pretty dumb on your part, son of God. Why would you give up everything just to be this one small self? Well, for one thing, the subconscious runs very deep. And that's where chapter 19 comes in, that the attraction to guilt, at least for this mind. I figure if I get to a place where that the egoful self finds its advantages to maintain a sense of guilt and unworthiness, well, of course it wants that. It doesn't want you to own who you are. Because if you own who you are, you're the highest you can go. You can't go higher than a son of God. There's no president of the United States that can do anything, because we're the son of God. We don't need any kings or anybody out there, because the highest high is what we are. So I say, as we sit here, if we are the son of God, we spread love. A lot of people ask me if I was going to go to a, what's it called? I don't even know. Like, you, you oppose what's going on, to walk in march. I said, no, because the truth is, do I want to dance with dirt, or do I want to rise above the dirt? Do I want to look from the cliff and say, wow, Jesus, do you see what they're doing here? And that character, Sharon, she just loves to be silly. That's the kind of stuff that we really have to come up with. Humor is going to get us out of here. Humor is going to allow death to be nothing. Because honestly, when we start going into the feeling part, like, oh, I don't want to die, I don't want to leave my kids will miss me. And then all of a sudden, the tears come out. Do you see my point? It's like we are all scripted perfectly. There's no one here that's not being scripted. There's no original anything. And by the way, nobody seemingly does anything here. It's all simulation. So by the I am present. So with that, I'm going to give it over to the one and only Dove Fishman.
Oh, well, the one and only, God knows. God knows we are one and only. The love of God is, it's an isness. Anyway, getting back to reality, the idea of there's nothing in this world that I want. Of course, we want the utility of it while we're here. I want a car that I can take a drive out in the country. Sharon wants to be in a car with Thomas where they can go from Dallas to wherever they want to go in the big state of Texas. My God. I mean, but if you don't have a car, we take an Uber. These days, young people don't even want a car. There was a story on, mother was saying, my son doesn't want a car. Maybe there was somebody sharing here and Gather, or maybe it was, I don't know where it was. Maybe it was Amy Torrey's sharing. the mother said, my son doesn't want a car. He says, I don't need a car. I mean, wherever I go, I can Uber and that's it. I don't need a car. So it's the utility of things here that I want. Lynn says, my kids are not here. If I'm not here, they are a story in my mind. Yeah, that's what I'm about to get into. So, you know, in two places in the course, it says, it uses the expression gentle laughter. So, you know, it's acceptance of our gentle laughter, smiles and gentle laughter and gratitude. And in the first place that gentle laughter shows up in is in it's in the text called let's see, maybe I have it over here. No, I know. It's in the text where he says in the hero of the dream. I don't know if I can find that so easily. He says, in the hero of the dream,
The holy instant thus becomes a lesson in how to hold all of your brothers in your mind, experiencing not loss, but completion. And this is love.
wow. Karen, that was so perfect that you shared that at the time. That this holy instant is really all there really is, except in time. You know, if you're caught up in time, you know, it gets a little crazy because time has a beginning and it has an end. But in your gentle laughter, time kind of dissolves because you're not looking at the things of this world like they mean something. Man, lesson number one, it doesn't really mean anything other than the meaning I give to it. And of course, if I think I'm in this world of time and space, I gotta give a lot of meaning to a lot of things because the ego made up all these things. It says, hey, you better know what this means. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. But you know, the one that I really like is this one in lesson 187. He says, where he uses gentle laughter again. He says he laughs as well. He laughs at pain. Huh? He laughs at loss. He laughs at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and death. He recognizes that sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all. And by the way, what do you mean by sacrifice? Well, choosing one over the other. Like I have a real ability to make one better than another. I like this, I don't like that. That sounds like the ego. But I'm not an ego. The Son of God sees all the same, equal. You can't choose one over the other in equality. Going back, it says, recognizes that sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind all the pain and loss, all the sickness, all the grief, all the poverty, all the starvation, and death itself. Huh? How could that be? Isn't death so real? No, it's not real at all. It's what you make it. Death is just moving from one room to another. You haven't really left. You're just not a body anymore. That's all. I'm spirit. Oh, I'm spirit. That's original. Lesson 97. I'm not a body. I'm spirit. Oh, there's a world called I'm spirit. Oh, there's two different worlds. Let's see, one world, I'm a body, and I see other bodies, and I want things, which is form. And the other world, there are no bodies, there are no things, there's spirit. And that's exactly what Holy Spirit does. He doesn't look at the effects like we do. We look at the effects and we judge them. What Holy Spirit does, he looks at the cause and laughs. the ego, which doesn't even exist, is talking to you and telling you that this is real, and you believe it. Huh? Really? That's right. That's insane. Remember the movie, A Beautiful Life? You know, someone here was talking to me about it. Yeah. At one point, he saw things that didn't exist, and then finally he realized he was seeing things, and he just smiled and laughed at them with gratitude. Gratitude is really what holds it all together. Because without the gratitude, it's just words. I know people go through the Course of Miracles year after year, and they say, I don't understand it. I don't understand the course. Well, that's because the ego is doing the reading for you. But when you realize that with gratitude, you were given a way to see yourself out of this crazy, mixed up, insane world, and it's given to you, but you must be willing to accept what it says. Well, what do you mean by accept, Dove? I'm not a body. How simple. I'm not a body, then what am I? I'm spirit. You got to laugh. You simply got to laugh. And laughing now, by the way, will save you lifetimes later. Love you all. God bless. Thank you.
Well, we still have about 3 minutes, and Zulma's not here yet. And welcome Gloria too. She came on. So I'm going to make some comments about what you guys said. Karen, I loved what you said about there's nothing here I want to be attached to. I wrote that down. That's good because I've had trouble with that. It's like, yeah, I want good relationships. I want to be active and free. I love doing all kinds of things. I want to see my friends. I want to go out to eat with my friends. I want to do all kinds of things here. I really do. I can't lie about it, but nothing I want to be attached to. Thank you for that. Because I always struggled with that. And another thing I just wrote down, what you just said, Dove, was sacrifice means choosing one over the other. And Regis, you have your hand up. I always love what you have to say, so take over.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was saying in so many words what Sharon said, what Karen said, in terms of, I always say, there's nothing in this world I have to have. And the course, what really grabbed me in the course is two concepts: is cherish. The course always questions, what do we cherish or what do we hold dear? And when we get to that place where there's nothing in this world that I cherish, whether that's my age, my youth, I can age. I don't have to have this body. I don't have to always have a fat-free body. I don't always have to have a head that have hair on it. Tracy and I, there's a husband and wife team that's a barber and a hairstylist. So Tracy goes to the wife, I go to the husband. So we were there, he was together and he was doing my hair. And he says, are you concerned about this thinning spot in your top of your head? I said, I'm aware of it. And his wife just started laughing because she got it immediately. She like, no, he's not concerned. He's aware. When it goes, it goes. If it stays, it stays. So you get to that place, as Doug was saying, and someone else is not. Yeah, we want to do things. We want a nice car. We want yes, we want to be in this body a lot of years. We want our hair. We want relationships. We want to travel and have good food. But do I have to have it? If I don't, if it doesn't work out that way, am I devastated? Do I lose my peace? Do I lose my joy? Do I lose my happiness? Absolutely not. You know, I go for it. Me and Tracy always say high intention, low attachment. You know, we intend to do these things. We intend to attain these things, but how attached, how much do I cherish it? I don't, I don't have to have it. When it doesn't play out the way I wanted to play out, I just keep moving. And Tracy sees me do that all the time. I go after something, it don't work out, okay, and keep on going. There's there's no grieving, there's no uh, any of that stuff. Getting, you know, just falling apart and thinking, oh, why is life never works out the way it works out for me? It's just keep moving. So I love how the course says, what do we cherish? What do we hold dear? It's not always just pushing us to say this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, that doesn't mean anything. But what do you hold dear in this world? What do you cherish? Thanks.
All right, Karen, yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Regis. So well put. And you are a demonstration of that. And I love that about you. You're such a good demonstration of that and so helpful as well with that. You know, that's I learned that from being attached. I learned how not to attach from being so attached, from being so attached and being so broken and hurt by that attachment, thinking that it was the end. You know, I couldn't live without this person, this place, this thing. And even all of it, even aging, all of it, learning to, it's all about what Dove said. It's about acceptance, 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 accepting all things exactly as they are. And when I don't, I suffer. That's the bottom line. So it's really coming down to that for me. And there's one other thing I wanted to share that I always thought was really interesting. It's an ancient Buddhist meditation practice called corpse meditation. And I always found it fascinating because they practice observing dead bodies decaying. So it's a meditation practice that it kind of cultivates mindfulness. So by I know it sounds morbid, but it helps me because I was always into existentialism when I was in college. I always kind of gravitated towards that psychology and the idea of death. When I think about this, I think of how much I appreciate and I'm grateful for the people that are in my life now in this present moment, the gratitude that Dove was talking about. I can be in the present moment more so now than ever because I don't take it for granted like I used to, because this present moment is all there is. And this physical form is so temporary. So this practice of observing dead bodies decaying, actually, I thought is actually pretty cool. I don't know if I would actually do it. I mean, if I had an opportunity, maybe I would, but it just shows how unreal the body is. You know, that the body is changing all the time and what happens to the body and the truth of who we are never changes. So I just wanted to share that. I thought it was fascinating. I know it sounds morbid, but that's all.
Yeah, actually, Karen, morbid or fascinating, that's what we're doing right now. I'm looking at the mirror and seeing a dead body decaying. You know, I'm looking at you guys and seeing dead bodies decaying. These are not living bodies. This is not life. You know, what we're experiencing here is something entirely different. Glorian has her hand up. And what's going to happen since Selma is not here, unless someone wants to take some time, which I'm always happy to have half hour, hour. Anybody wants to take some time, please do. But I was going to play Jimmy Twyman uh, from yesterday, and then Jimmy Twyman live today, and then a recording of Zelma. But it could be anything. I'm welcome to any opportunity anybody has that they'd like to share. So Glorian, I believe, has her hand up.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Just quickly, I like what you shared there about, this is the death. And once we come to recognize that everything we see here is the upside down thinking, and then have that willingness to make that space to have it reinterpreted for us. But circling back to what we were talking about with attachment and investment. So if we're attached or invested in the outcome of something, we've made it special. And this is the idea when we recognize that by letting that go, we're the ones doing the block. We're preventing the infinite possibilities from revealing themselves to us by holding on to the past, because attachment and investment is always the past. So it's just a matter of remembering that the only time is now. And in this holy instant, we can accept the Christ as we are. And that's the only piece. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Gloria. And Karen, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, thank you, Gloria. I just wanted to say that I am covering for Mickey today. I really don't have anything planned, but I mean, I was looking at lesson 193, and if you want, we can just do that next and see where it leads. Maybe it'll be a discussion, who knows? But I mean, if you want, that's what we can do. It's up to
I
you.
love that idea. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, so let me go ahead and close out this YouTube. And thank you all for joining us. I appreciate everyone who's joining us here on Zoom or in YouTube or on recording anywhere else. So grateful for you.